Welcome back to the Coaches Unscripted podcast. I'm your host, Trey Belcher. With me, as always, my tag team partner, Corey Smallwood. How's it going, Corey?
It's going great. Look who we got on the podcast today.
Big time, big time. Joining us today is a legend of the training industry, one of the pioneers in athlete training. He is a renowned speaker, author, and Iona College Hall of Famer, and the owner of Parisi Speed Schools. Ladies and gentlemen, Bill Parisi. Welcome in, Bill.
Great to be here, Trey, Corey.
So you started the Parisi Speed Schools with $500 and a van. How does that happen?
Actually, it was a $500 van. I was actually $50,000 in debt. I was $50,000 in student loan debt and a $500 van. Yeah, to get that story straight. How does that happen? Started out as an undersized high school athlete from northern New Jersey who wasn't that fast, who got moved from fullback to lineman in high school. And the coach said, if you want to get faster, go out for track. And that was my sophomore year. So I went out for track. The track coach was smart enough to have me try all the events, tried every event. I took a liking to the javelin. I was always a pretty good thrower. And that turned into something bigger. By the end of my senior year, I still played football. I was the captain and MVP of my football team as a lineman. And we went to the state playoffs here in northern New Jersey. We were a good team. But the javelin was something I was able to go Division I at, and I was good enough to be a top 10 thrower in the country my senior year, just from training and really studying. I went to camps in high school. I researched this. This was without any internet, by the way. Go to the library, research, look up books, learn how to throw, go to camps, find coaches that were good at it, and just attacked it. And the goal was to go D1. I wanted to go D1. Football was my first love, but wasn't big enough, wasn't fast enough to play D1 football. Had offers to play D3. But javelin, I was able to go D1. But the real shift in the beginning was my senior year. I qualified for a junior national Olympic trials, right, for 18 and younger. And that year they were going to Tokyo, Japan. The junior team was going to compete in Japan. The top 2 place finishers make the team. And it was in Elmhurst, Illinois, 1985. And I was in second place with 1 thrower left. It was really exciting. I felt that USA red, white, and blue sweatsuit on my body, that silk sweatsuit. And on the last throw, I got beat by 2 inches, a golf tee. And I was devastated. It was the biggest setback in my life, but that biggest setback set me up to make my biggest comeback. And that's really where the quest to really learn everything about human performance got kicked off. Like, I was always, aggressive in my wanting to improve athleticism, but that really flipped the switch for me. And then it was a nonstop, process. 40 years it's 40 years now from that time. And it's been 40 years on a focused path.
And that really is, and I've known you for a good 20 plus years, Bill. And the thing is, whether it's athletic performance or now, with all the research that you're doing on fascia and things like that, focus is a word that I would use with you. Now, take you outside of the thing that you're focused on, and there's a whole nother side of Bill Parisi. Yeah. When you get into that, it is literally laser beam focused. Nothing is going to deter you. You are spending every ounce of energy, of mental capacity on that one thing. And I think that's a very important thing. And you can see it in how you are raising your kids and what they're doing now that they're getting older. But we see that a lot in newer coaches, or even sometimes in business owners, is it's like the next flashy thing, and I need to go do that, and I need to be a fitness influencer, and I need to now jump to kettlebells, and I need to do. But really, if you focus on what's going to get you to that next level and really dive in on that, and I know that you do that with all of your affiliates, and that's a big part of the Parisi program as well.
Yeah. And sometimes you need a setback. You learn more from your losses than your wins. You learn more from your obstacles than your successes. And so that set me on a path, right? So that set me on to go to Iona College in New Rochelle. I went there solely because of the head track coach was a field events coach, Tony Niclario. Amazing coach. Learned a ton from him. He had a great network in the throws community. The javelin, shot put, discus. He was an Olympic level coach. So they didn't even have my major. I actually majored in finance. And then I took graduate work in exercise science. But I went there because of him. But that afforded me not only to train with him, but it afforded me to meet people from other countries. We were at a fall track and field meet. We had a whole fall schedule. We would go up to West Point and compete. The Naval Academy, we would go and compete in a fall throws schedule. So we had a whole schedule in the fall for throwers, meets, to prepare. It was like our development time. So I met this high school finish thrower at a West Point meet in the fall. It was a high school kid that was throwing, 240. He was throwing crazy distances. And I went up to him. I said, I got to come to your homeland because the Finns are some of the best in the world in throwing the javelin. And that set me up to go to Finland. So no cell phones, no internet. I put a fundraiser together. I go to 50 businesses. I'm a sophomore in college at this point. I go to 50 local businesses asking them for like $50 each to support me to go to Finland. I'm door to door, knocking on doors. Could you support me? They were kind of like, tell me your story. I'm like, my goal is to make the Olympic team. I'm a college athlete. I want to go to Finland, learn with some of the best. And that year, the gold medal winner was Tapios Kouros. This was 1989. In 1988, Tapios Kouros won the gold medal in the javelin. He was a Finn. So I talked about that. My goal was to go to the 92 Olympics. So I raised money, got a plane ticket, bought this kid a $400 javelin at the time. I said, can I buy you a javelin? Because I stayed at his house. And, went to Finland for a month and, trained and learned with the best in the world. And back in the 80s, the Finns were leading the whole sports science industry. They were really, really advanced. A lot of the research was coming out of Finland back then. And I was right in the middle of it. And I learned a ton there and then came back home after that. My next season, I had an All-American season and then had a second All-American season, competing at the NCAA Division I level. And I say as a 5'10" Italian from North Jersey throwing the javelin 80 yards is pretty good, right? And you need a lot of athleticism to do that. And that's what my whole focus was on, in college. So that was the foundation. And then my senior year, I actually hurt my ankle. I kind of jammed it on a runway that was slippery and then it caught. So my ankle kind of blew up, but I wasn't about to give up. So the NCAA leader that year was a guy by the name of Tom Puskas. He was a University of Florida thrower. So at the NCAAs, I qualified for the NCAAs early that year, hurt my ankle halfway through. I still went to the meet and competed, but I was basically had a soft cast on my ankle and I just wanted to compete. I didn't just not want to compete. So I competed. I didn't do well, but it was my third NCAA qualifications. It was my senior year. People really were touched because I was if you were running the mile, you had a broken leg, kind of that's what it was like, me coming down the runway and throwing, right? So it was kind of, I should have took videos of that. That kind of been cool, but javelin didn't go through too far that day. But it would have been my third All-American season because I was crushing it that year. But anyway, everything happens for a reason. So I say my ankle heals up. I go to Tom Puskas. I want to move in with you. So I moved to Gainesville, Florida with Tom. But an interesting story before that I think is everybody should hear. When I was in undergraduate school, I not only went to Finland to learn, I was going to clinics around the country. I was raising money. I was getting on planes, going to strength and conditioning clinics in the 80s as a college athlete because I was really dialed in. I was Olympic lifting. I was snatching 230. I was cleaning 315. I was doing all this stuff at a really, really high level. So I was a kind of a coach on this stuff, but I was the athlete, doing it at a pretty high level. So I gained so much incredible experience. Then I go to these clinics and locally, the New York Giants head strength coach had a clinic and he brought in Angel Spazov. He was a Bulgarian Olympic lifting coach back in the 80s. The Bulgarians won all the Olympic medals in the clean and jerk and snatch. So I go to this clinic in New Jersey, head strength coach of the New York Giants, Johnny Parker, and I'm sitting in the front asking questions. And at lunchtime, I say, hey, can I go to lunch with you guys? And I'm 20 years old, 21 at the time. And they're kind of impressed. I'm fit. And they asked me to demo. They saw I was fit. I was doing some demos for them in the clinic. They were impressed. So we go to lunch. We start talking. I just explained to Johnny I was in Finland. I just came off my All-American season in the javelin. And he says, well, I'm really impressed after we had lunch at the end of lunch. He says, I'm really impressed. I want you to come down to Giant Stadium and show Phil Simms those medicine ball drills you learned. And, back in 1989, I started training Phil Simms as a as a college athlete, Phil Simms was technically my first client. I couldn't get paid because at that point I earned a scholarship, and the NCAA rules were a lot different back then. But he gave me New York Giant, Washington Redskin tickets for me and my friends to go to, which was kind of cool. But that was kind of cool, and that's when I got into the training. I was like, man, this is cool. I'm training a Super Bowl. Think about that. My first client, I'm still an athlete. My first client's a Super Bowl MVP, like in New York, right? I mean, he was like the Tom
Legend.
Brady at the time. Like Phil Simms was Tom Brady in the '80s, and I'm training Phil Simms, and I didn't realize, like back then it was definitely big time. It was kind of cool, but not as big time now, I guess, because of social media. But that led me to develop a great relationship with Phil. Then when I decided to go to Florida, it was Steve Spurrier's first year coaching the Gators. This is back in 1991 now, or 1990 was the fall when Coach Spurrier got his job. If you do the research, it was 1990. He came in that season, first season coaching the Florida Gators. I cold called Coach Spurrier that summer, asking him for a graduate and assistant position on the strength staff. And he was amazed that I got him on the phone, as the head coach of Florida Gators, Heisman Trophy winner, for University of Florida, big time, kind of like a Manning name, his name was like an Eli Manning. I mean, kind of in terms of what Spurrier was in Florida. So I get him on the phone. He's like, how'd you get me on the phone? And I sweet talked his secretary, and I told him, I'm a trainer to Phil Simms. That's how I got him on the phone. And I told him right away, a trainer to Phil Simms, and he started talking. He goes, well, I don't have a position for you, but you got to call my head strength coach and let him know you're interested, and he'll help you out. I said, great, thank you, Coach. First thing I did, his name was Doug Kaufman. I called up Doug. I said, Coach Kaufman, this is Bill Parisi. Coach Spurrier told me to give you a call. Obviously, I obviously had his attention. Didn't have anything for me, but he welcomed me to work out in the weight room. He welcomed me to volunteer and help out, which was great. Second semester, got the graduate assistant, got my courses paid for, took anatomy, took a physiology course. I was 22, 23 at the time, taking undergraduate anatomy. It was kind of fun because I had a lot of 18, 19-year-old freshmen in the class. I was this mature guy, so I got a lot of looks.
And you're Phil Simms' coach or trainer.
Yeah. So I did that and gained a lot of experience. In my second semester there, they actually made me the head strength coach for the track team, Florida Gators. We had 3 Olympians on the team. So I made such an impression in the weight room. It's funny because I haven't talked about this stuff in 20 years. It's really funny. I mean, like the details. I was so dialed in volunteering, and this is a message for anybody that wants to be a strength coach, so dialed in volunteering at the Florida. They had 4 or 5 strength coaches at the time for all the sports. They had their own separate office, big office. All the guys were in the office. I was dialed in. They said, hey, man, we love what you do. Here's the graduate assistantship. We want to take you take the head position of strength and conditioning for the track and field team. And I did that for the spring semester. And that was pretty awesome, to be working with those athletes at that level at such a young age. I was only 23 at the time. These guys were my age, and some of them, just a little younger. So I did that for a year, moved home after the year. Enrolled in Montclair State, took a few more courses, and was living at home with mom and dad. Bought a van and started driving around, just offering free clinics. And I spent about $5,000 on a flyer. Back then, there's no internet. You need to print something and mail it. That was the only way to communicate, right? Or advertise in the newspaper. And I did both. I spent $5,000 on printing and postage and envelopes and a couple ads in local papers stating I was going to run this, this free clinic on speed development. And I spent this money and I put all this effort in, and my resume was pretty good, right? Like, think about this. This is 1992 now. My resume, 2-time Division I All-American track athlete, trainer to Phil Simms, University of Florida strength and conditioning coach, track and field team with 3 Olympians. I mean, that's a pretty strong resume in terms of, okay, this guy's been around. He's trained Super Bowl MVP. He's trained, the Florida Gator track team. But I had one person show up to the clinic. I spent $5,000. One person showed up to the clinic. You know why? Yeah. Back in 1992, they're like, you can't really improve speed. Like field and court sports, they weren't bought in that you can improve speed. Like in, 91, 92. What's kind of interesting, most of the people teaching this stuff weren't even born back then.
That's true. Yeah,
like
that's true.
If you were born in 92, you're like what? You're 38
32,
now.
33.
30,
33.
33.
You're
Yep.
33 right now, right?
Yeah.
And in 92, maybe you were 5 or 10. Now you're 43. You know what I'm saying? So, you weren't thinking speed training. So yeah, man. I mean, I kind of like just kept pushing it and kept going to clinics and networking and meeting all these great people. And finally one coach like bought into it and had great success, and one athlete had great success, and that just led into building the local brand. And so then ultimately it's kind of, the story gets pretty crazy if you want to hear the details. I mean, more about where it goes. Like that was the foundation though.
Well, yes, we absolutely want to hear all the details. And that's what we love to hear, is when you say, I haven't talked about this in 20 years,
Yeah.
to bring back all these things. It's two things. Number one, $5,000 in 1992 adjusted for inflation is the equivalent of $11,450 today. And
To promote one event. That should be the headline. Bill Parisi spent $11,000 to promote a clinic that one person showed up. That's crazy.
Well, and most people, Bill, honestly, would have packed it up and been like, this is a failure.
But yeah.
Most people would have said, this is an epic failure. This isn't going to work. I'm now selling my van for $495.
Yeah, no, you're right. Yeah, I mean that, because I was promoting I can get athletes faster for field and court sports, and nobody believed it.
Yeah.
Like people like didn't think that was like legit. Like you can't, like that's not, I mean, get them faster. That's speed. You're kind of born with that, I mean, so think about strength training. Strength training was just getting popular in the 80s, right? I mean, people knew they can get stronger, but getting faster. Now we know strength is a part of speed, but there's other elements to speed as well. But tell me when you want to continue, because it does get really crazy, some of the other things that happen.
well, I want to take a quick step back, because we talk about your search for knowledge, and you and Corey both talked about your focus. Where does that come from? If you have any idea where those things come from, whether it's from your parents or from influences outside of that, but just that constant search for knowledge and that laser focus to continue searching until you find the thing that you're looking for.
It's a great question. My biggest setback, failing to make the junior Olympic team, I was really depressed, and my coach said, you know what, you got to get out of this funk and you got to go and check out the Winner's Workshop. The Winner's Workshop was a one-day kind of workshop, sports psychology workshop that was run by Dr. Rob Gilbert, sports psychologist out of Montclair University. And I went to this workshop, and it was life-changing for me. And the takeaway I learned from that workshop is life is about learning strategies, the best strategies, executing those strategies, putting those strategies into place, and then getting a result, whether it be successful or not successful, and then building upon that. Even if it's not successful, what wasn't successful about it? How do I change? What other strategies can I? And if you're on the constant search for strategy, constant search on the best strategies for whatever you do, and find the best in the world and model them, you're gonna find that path to success. Now, Dr. Gilbert has been my mentor for 40 years. We actually just had a mentorship here at my home 2 weeks ago. Corey was one of our guest speakers. We had 5 professionals come in. They stayed at local hotels, but the entire event was at my house. We started at 7 in the morning. We ended at 10 at night. It was a Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. We broke at 2 p.m. on Sunday. And I had all my mentors come in. Dr. Gilbert was here live for the 3 days. I zoomed in all my mentors from the past bunch of years. It was unbelievable. And it's having mentors, and I still have mentors today, and it's being a mentor, right? And that's my secret. That's what I thrive off of. And just that mentorship. But it's really about strategy. And we do a lot of metaphors to kind of get people to buy in to how powerful strategies are and how powerful the right strategies are. But that's what drives me. That's what, gets me excited to want to attack a specific area like fascia, right? Or the sports performance business. It's constantly, unpacking some of the best and the best. Like from a business standpoint, I have a guy on my staff for 20 years, Dr. Paul Staples. He has his PhD in human behavior. He's a behavioral scientist. He's been on my staff for 20 years. He was my CEO and COO for a number of years. And before he was with me, he actually was with Marriott Hotels. This was way before, back in the 80s and 90s. He was actually the number 2 man to Mr. Marriott. He ran all the training and development for Marriott hotels. He would have semi-tractor trailers drive around the country, and inside the semi-tractor trailers, there was front desks, like a mock front desk environment inside the tractor trailer. They would drive to hotels and do front desk training in the parking lots because you can't shut down the front desk to train staff. So we do front desk training. So this guy was big time, and then he left Marriott. He started his own consulting firm, and his clients were Caterpillar, Whirlpool, Marriott, Hilton. He would go and consult their executive teams on training and development. Someone told me about him back in 2006 when I was expanding, and I called him up because he was a consultant, high-level consultant. He gave me a proposal. It was like an 18-month plan to build out the Parisi infrastructure. It's $185,000 for his 18-month, consulting job. And he said that was cheap. I'm like, cheap? $185,000? What's that in today's dollars?
Stand by.
That was 2006, probably well over $200,000. And you know what? I was so impressed. I did it. And he told me a great consultant works himself out of a job. Well, that really got me intrigued. And he did amazing work. And we really enjoyed working together. So he kept me as a client. I wanted him. He maintained me as a client while he had all these other clients. And in 2012, he retired from all his other clients and became my COO. 2015 became my CEO. And then 2020, he retired again from me. Now he's back in a consulting role. So I surround myself with people a whole lot smarter than me. And I figure out how I can help them get what they want. Paul didn't want to live in hotels anymore. He was traveling and so much, living in hotels, and it wasn't about the money anymore for him. So we worked out a deal where I couldn't pay him what his market value was. The guy's market value is $500,000 base salary, right? That was his market value. But he loved my mission. He loved what I did. And, he worked, 20 hours from Paul is kind of like 80 hours from somebody else. The guy is so lasered and locked in. So anyway, I afforded him a career and an opportunity, a remote situation. He was in Atlanta, but he would come up and we would, even this was back in 2006. We would do our meetings, and his team would build all of our infrastructure, because he had a team of building all of our support materials and whatnot. So yeah, man. The takeaway is, when you find someone really talented that can add to your organization, figure out how to get them involved. That's what I've done. I did that. Martin Rooney's been a part of the Parisi Speed School for 13 years. Martin was a physical therapist working on the adult population and got him introduced to performance training in 1999. I remember Martin bringing the Gracies in our facility to train them. He was first getting into MMA, and we had a great 13-year run. His whole training for warriors was incubated out of the Parisi Speed School, which he created, and he wrote the books. And, I offered the platform for him to do that. Provided this platform, which is great. That's what relationships are about. He gave a lot to us. We gave a lot to him. It was a great 13-year partnership. He's still a very dear friend of mine, one of my best friends. And I'm really proud of him on what he's done in the industry. And that's what Parisi is. Parisi is a platform for people. Joe DeFranco started with us, back in when he came in as an intern. He was with us for 4 years. He incubated out of the Parisi Speed School. A bunch of his initial pro guys were our guys that I got. I had a relationship with the New York Giants. And then Joe went on to do, great things. He went down a path of more kind of hardcore approach. Joe's very talented, really good on social media. But I'm proud to say, yeah, man, we had a 4-year platform that Joe, we provided, right? And that goes to a whole bunch of coaches that we've, provided this platform for. So yeah, I look at the Parisi organization as a platform company, right? And now people can leverage the brand, get involved with us, and use it as much or as little as you want. You can get involved with us and not even use our brand and use our systems, right? So I'm in the business of providing platforms and providing, educational opportunities for people. But yeah, I went off track there. There's a whole lot of that story that continues in terms of where I was moving back from Florida out of the van and how I went from living at mom and dad to getting the first facility. So should I go into that?
Yeah, well, two things. Number one, $185,000 in 2006 is $295,000 in today's dollars.
Almost 3. Wow.
We had Martin on a couple months ago, and Martin spoke just as highly of you as you just did of him. And he was very gracious and deferential to you for helping him get his start. And that community, that's so much of what we enjoy doing is hearing those stories from and being able to hear from both sides, and the cooperation and the collaboration and getting everything, helping us all build up the industry.
Yeah, I think that's really special today, like what Martin and I have done. And not to cut short any of my other coaches like Steve Leo and John Cirillo that were just and still with us today and doing things, running facilities and owning facilities. But we've had a lot of great people. But Martin definitely was someone that came in that really had a high skill set to write, right? He's writing novels now. He's writing nonfiction stuff or fiction stuff rather. But so to maintain that relationship, it's like it was a good exchange, right? Like he provided a lot of value and then I provided a lot of value for him. And we had that open communication. 99 out of 100 situations, it turns bad. You know what I mean? Like if he's working for me, he does this, but you got to be mature. And I think that's one of the foresights I have as a business owner, as a successful, having this vision and, really understanding how to help people. And then again, Martin was unique too, because he brought a lot to the table, right? I mean, and if he didn't bring a lot to the table and then he was trying to do this stuff on the side, it would have got messy. But he definitely brought a lot to the table. So you have to identify things. That's the things we help people with, like young owners. Like we help them flush out staff. We help them understand what to look for, the psychology of understanding what people's real goals are. We have different metrics. I mean, again, my guy, Paul Staples, has his PhD in human educational psychology. So we have all these evaluations we do when we hire people and hopefully try to make the best decisions. But yeah.
I think even as you listen to your story and Martin Rooney's story and Alan Cosgrove's story and Kevin Carr and some of the industry leaders that we've had on here, Dr. Rob Bell, they've all had mentors or they've all sought out education. They've kind of stifled their own ego. And I'm finding more and more newer coaches just jumping in. I have my certification. I want to be an AI influencer or a Instagram influencer, and here's what I'm going to do for you. And they've lost, like, you've been certified for 6 months. Be humble and learn from some of the best. And that's what you're still offering that through your Parisi platform. Martin's doing it through his program. I'm doing it. Trey's bringing up younger people. But the people that come to us hungry to learn are the ones that advance fastest.
Yeah, no doubt. And you always have to be looking for the opportunity, always looking. I mean, and that's where, I kind of left off when I moved back home, living in the parents' basement. After that clinic failed, I didn't give up. And that one coach, I made an impression on, and then he referred me to an athlete and I got great results with that athlete. The kid blew up. And that led to another coach. And then I did a free clinic for that coach at his school and I blew them away. Here's the big secret. If you want to be successful and you want to build a brand, you have to really get good at speaking, right? You have to really get good at lighting up a group, lighting up your athletes, and then ultimately giving a presentation to a group of parents or a group of coaches. And I started doing that. I used to sit in my parents' house in the living room. I used to present to them and have a video recorder. I would record myself presenting to my parents at 24 years old, practicing my presentation, like role playing, right? Like doing it and filming it and reviewing it. That's how you become a good speaker. And I did that enough. And then I started sharing really rich content on speed training that made sense, like really hard, non-negotiable science delivered with passion and enthusiasm. That's how you build a brand. Right. And then you get people buying into that and they see that. They're like, oh, I want to do that, too. And then you teach people how to do that. That's what we do. We really coach our coaches on how to present. I mean, there's lots of opportunities for coaches to just advance their careers in terms of not just the science of training, but how that training is presented, how you project your body language, your tonality, your communication with parents. All these things play a massive role in building a brand. And most coaches aren't even thinking of this. They just think it's all about, the training. The training is a huge part of it, no doubt. You got to have solid training. But, training doesn't have to be that complicated, right? It doesn't have to be. And I don't want to make it, listen, I'm diving into fascia. So a lot of people say what I'm doing is like really complicated. I make it simple, but it really comes down to a lot of aspects of how you deliver it and delivering it in a way that kids can really absorb it and get better, not only physically, but mentally they're bought in. So, but that was a big part of the initial.
So once you start getting into getting the kids going,
Yeah.
having the good results, then take us from there.
Yeah. So I'm living at home. I'm back. I'm helping out with the New York Giants now. I'm like a consultant where I go in during the winter and springtime where they're doing conditioning at Giant Stadium. I'm showing up and I'm working with Phil Simms. I'm working with some of the players, and I mean, I'm Johnny's so impressed. I come in as a part-time consultant. I'm doing that. I'm living at home, and now I start personal training during the morning. I start picking up some clients. I'm doing in-home personal training. And now I got the New York Giants in-home training, and I'm doing a couple of kids at parks, with the van driving around. Busy working from 6 in the morning to 8 at night, doing in-home training. And then I come up with this idea, like I got to grow my adult business more. I want to get my name out there more. So I come up with this idea. There's this store in Bergen County called Bergen Home Fitness, and it's a high-end fitness equipment store. They sell high-end treadmills, ellipticals, rowers, all for a couple $1,000. Even back then, it's like a lot of money. So it wasn't a place where you go to like these big department stores, you get these cheap, $500 treadmills. This was a specialty store. So I go to the owner. I said, listen, I want to be the only trainer that you promote in all your stores. I want you to put my cards on your counter. And I said, anyone that buys a piece of equipment for $1,000 or more, I want you to give them my card, and we're going to give them 2 free sessions to teach them how to use the equipment and get them on a program. He goes, why should I do that for you? He goes, because I said to him, I'm going to get Phil Simms to do a radio commercial for your store. Now, I didn't ask Phil that, but I wanted to see if I'm going to ask Phil. I needed to set that up first,
Right.
And he said, dude, you got whatever you want. I mean, this is Super Bowl MVP, right? Because you get whatever you want. I'm like, okay, great. So I go back down to Giant Stadium. I'm seeing Phil. I'm working with him. And it was during a stretching session. The workout was finishing up. And I knew this is called EQ. You got to have a really good emotion quotient, right? So I kind of knew, Phil knew my background. Like, I come from a family of 4 kids. Money's tight. I was the only one to go to college. He knew a little bit about me. He knew I was living at home, paying off debt. Here's a Super Bowl MVP, right? Here's a guy, me, I helped him out. I'm teaching him stuff. The strength coach brings me in to kind of work with him. So we have a relationship. So I knew that. And he's a really great guy, like really a giving guy. Not all the pro athletes are like that. He's an exception. Most guys aren't. He's an exception to the rule. So I'm stretching him out. I said, Phil, I'm trying to build my business. I'm trying to build up some clients. I built this relationship with this Bergen Home Fitness. I think you might have bought something from them not too long ago. They're great guys. The owner said to me, if you were to do a commercial, short little radio commercial, he would allow me to be the only one to be promoted as a trainer throughout all of his stores. Is that you think that's something you can do, to help me out? It would be life-changing. And he looked at me like amazed that I asked him, that question, like this, like an amazement. Like he was like almost like stunned for a second. And then I was just like sitting there. I didn't say anything. I just like a little puppy dog, like sitting there, I'm like, it would only take probably an hour to film, record. He's like, yeah, okay, I'll do it. So he did it. And he said yes. But months went on. We didn't get it done. He was busy. There's like 2 nights before they go to camp. If you go to camp, it's over. You're not getting access, right? So at that point, the training was over, but I knew he was at Giant Stadium. So I went and left a note on his car. Hey, Phil, we only have 1 day left. You said you were going to do this. Can you do it? And he called me up that night. He's like, I got your note. Yep, we'll do it tomorrow. And he did the commercial. It was life-changing. I got tons of clients from these stores where I actually hired 2 other trainers, and I would send them to go do in-home training. So I was running an in-home business, and not even having a bricks and mortar. And that allowed me to pay off my debt, save some money. And then I started getting more young athletes training at parks, training at schools. And then I got this one athlete that did exceptionally well. He got written up in the local newspaper. It was a big story how fast he got. And I sent the writer a fruit basket as a thank you gift. I thank you for mentioning my name and promoting me in this article. This is, and this guy calls me up. He's like, dude, like no one has even thanked me before. Never mind send me a fruit basket. I was like, man, it was insane. It was amazing that you mentioned my name. He's like, well, tell me more about what you do. Told him about the business. A month later, he makes a nice little article about me, like all about my business. I'm still at home, living at home. Now the business is starting to really come in. I got adults going. I got kids. I'm running camps now at schools, full camps. I take the guy and his wife out to dinner, like as a thank you. I'm like, dude, that was unbelievable. Take him out to dinner. We get to know each other. And then my business really starts to roll. And then one of my clients says, hey, there's a gym in Wyckoff, New Jersey that's not doing well. It's owned by this dentist that got in over his head. Small studio, 3,000 square feet. This is 1992, early 93. So I go meet with him. He's like, hey, you want to buy this gym? I want out. I'm like, well, I like the space. I could make it into what I want to do. It was kind of open space, 3,000 square, nice little box. And I was doing all functional training, doing my speed stuff. He goes, how much you want? He was like, just give me 50,000. You can have it. I'm like, wow, it was a lot. That was like a lot. The rent was $5,000. Like I felt like I was buying this massive liability. And I said no. I said, some of the best deals in life are the deals you don't do, right? So I said no. And he was kind of shocked. 2 months goes by. He's like, listen, closing the gym down. Give me 15 grand. I'll give you all the equipment. So I said, okay, So I pay him the 15 grand. I had that saved up. Now I got to go deal with the landlord. And I say, listen, I can't afford $5,000 a month. I can afford $2,500 a month for year one. And then year two, I'll pay you $3,000 a month. And year three, I'll pay you $4,000 a month. And year four, I'll pay you $6,000 a month. I'm going to make it up in year four. He goes, I'll do that if you sign a personal guarantee. And I said, I'll do it. And I had to put a PG on it. I'm saying I'm all in, I'm either going to do it or not. So I PG'd it, personal guaranteed the lease, started that place, rebuilt it. My dad and I kind of, rebuilt it out, like put in a track, put in a 3-lane track. This is 1993 now. This is October 1993 is when I first opened. Put a 3-lane track right down the center, open space, and started doing functional training in a studio. 1993, my first year. We did 2 months in 93. We did like $7-8 grand the first month, 10 grand the second month. So I remember 1994, I was so happy. We did like 150 grand. I was like, oh my God, this is amazing. I paid my rent. I was able to pay staff, and I probably made like $5 grand. I don't even know if I made any money, but I was like so happy because I was living at home. I was able to pay my rent and do that. That was 1994. 95, we did like close to 300,000. I remember I paid myself about 50 grand. 1996, we bring Tom Plummer in for consulting, right? In 96, we do pretty good. We do like 500 grand. And we bring Tom in 96. We change some things. 97, we do 987,000. In 1997, in 3,000 square feet. So we were so ahead of our time. And that really led me to open up another facility 1 mile down the street, 16,000 square feet, where we had 4,000 square feet of performance and 12,000 square feet of traditional health club. Now, back in the 90s, we were, that traditional health club was more like just a Planet Fitness, but we were higher end, $60 a month. We're doing like 40, 50, 60 grand in personal training, and we were doing 40 grand in youth performance training. Inside this club, we were doing 100 grand in training. We did another, 100 grand in membership. We did 2.4 million in that club with, 24% margin. So that club was making 600,000. And that just afforded me now. I had this business doing 3 million in revenues, 700,000 in profit. I went 5 miles down the road in 2000 and opened up a 30,000 square foot facility, 15,000 square foot in performance. That was a $2.5 million project. I took a loan out for $2 million because I had the profit in my other businesses to help secure the loan. That's why the bank lent it to me, because I had that kind of EBITDA. And then in 2000, built a mega sports performance facility, which is still in existence today. And here's one proud stat that I don't know if anybody in the world can beat, is that facility in 2000, we already had this momentum because we moved all the speed training, all the performance training from the 2 locations into the mega Fairlawn location. Those other 2 facilities, we didn't do performance. Like we kind of just brought it all to this one location. And that location has done $1 million a year on average over the last 25 years. So we generated $25 million in revenue over the last 25 years out of that location. So I don't know if anybody can say they have a location of sports performance at that size for about a quarter century that's done over $1 million a year for every year for 25 years. So I'm proud of that stat. And what's happened since then is, I sold it in 2010. It's our flagship affiliate location, and they've maintained it. So the owner that bought it in 2010 just resold it again. He owned it for about 10, 15 years. He just resold it to Alliance Orthopedics that just rebuilt it. Just redid everything because it was 25 years old, and they did a massive upgrade. So that building is probably going to go to $2 million in sports performance here very soon. It was due for an upgrade because when you're in this business and you run these boxes, you have a lifespan of about 15 to 20 years, of running boxes, and unless you have a really unique director and you have one box to manage, you can do that for longer if you want. But just from my experience, and that's where, I got out of it because I was focused on the affiliate business. And then the guy I sold it to, Rich Sadiv, he ran it for 10, 15 years, and now he's 60. That's a really interesting story who I sold it to. So Rich Sadiv, the guy that bought our flagship in 2010, he was a UPS worker and no experience as a trainer or as a coach or a fitness business owner. He was with UPS before they went public, and he's been with UPS for 27 years. He had a real hard leadership position. He actually retired from that job. He became a coach with us and started coaching Jumpstart, 15 years ago or even longer, probably like 7 to 18 years ago. He was so locked in. He just kept growing as a coach. Martin took him under his wing. He started training our combine guys and just got up to a high level, ultimately became the owner of that facility and did a great job with it. And he just sold it to Alliance Orthopedics. So, that's the thing. You gotta find the right people to, continue your legacy. You got to find the right people to run your operation. And we've had ups and downs, owning a sports performance facility with 110,000 break even, right? I mean, was pretty much the break even since inception was right around, anywhere as low as 90 to 120,000 that's your break even number for 25 years, right? Man, I don't know how many people out there run a sports performance facility for 25 years that has a break even of 100,000 and been successful for that long.
Yeah.
Well, I don't think there are many, and that's why you are who you are and you have the standing that you have in the business, and why so mmany people look to you now as the mentor, and so many people look to you to get under the Bill Parisi learning tree. I always take a page full of notes whenever we do these shows, because that's part of what I'm here for, is to seek that knowledge and to seek the education and on all those things from people who have done it much longer and much better than I have, and to hear those stories, because I just love the stories. You're a finance major. I was a history major. You did your grad work at Florida. I'm doing my grad work at Florida right now. So there's so many ties that bind, even though we don't know it. And even though we've just passed by each other at Perform Betters for the past 6 or 7 years, but never really had the time to sit and talk and get to know each other. But now we make these ties, and hopefully we'll see you a couple weeks in Providence.
Bill talks about having access to, he's made it even easier to have access to the Parisi information and systems. And he's doing something that a lot of the other organizations aren't doing out there now with his education and his online certifications and his affiliate program. So I do want to give him a couple minutes just to talk about what he is now doing with the Parisi, if you have time, Bill, to
Sure. No, thank you, Corey. I think, listen, there's two types of experience out there, right? There's expensive experience where you go through something like I did, and I paid a pretty good dumb tax in a lot of areas, whether it be running sports performance businesses or education or whatnot, where you go through experience yourself and you learn the hard way and you waste time and waste money. And then there's inexpensive experience where you just learn it from someone. They give you the pathway. They give you some direction where your learning curve is much, much faster. So what we've done is we've created a platform where we provide a lot of inexpensive experience for people where they don't have to make the mistakes we've made and learn from our successes and learn from our failures. And we've done that in a number of different ways. One, we have our online education. I mean, we believe we have a speed system of education that's second to none, that's duplicatable, that's easy to understand, that gets big time results. I'm talking, bringing kids from, 16, 17, 18 miles an hour. It's 20 miles an hour, 21, 22, 23 miles an hour, changing their acceleration, changing their ability to decelerate and reaccelerate, multi-directional speed. I mean, we've taken it down the fascia road. We understand biotensegrity. We understand, force velocity curves, all these buzzwords, right? RSI, reactive strength index, like taking all this science and making it simple. Right. So we've done that. We've got the partnerships with all the great companies, the Volts of the world, the Output Sports of the world, all these great technology companies. They're very close partners of ours. So we have special deals with these guys, and we feel we have some of the best education. But what makes us different, a lot of people have education. What we've done is we made it simple. We make it where you can implement it, and you can take a UPS worker and make them a world-class owner of a facility and world-class coach. I can take a bank teller and make them a world-class coach. I can take a house painter and make them a world-class coach. And by the way, I've done that. And we have 128 guys that we had drafted in the NFL. We had a period from 2000 to 2010 that we were the combine training. We set the standard for combine training. We actually created the education for combine training. We put out education how to train combine guys. We had 128 guys drafted in that 10-year period. We had an exclusive relationship with one agency that we were not allowed to train any other athlete except if they went to Sports Stars. It's an agency out of New York City that they represent hundreds of NFL guys. They locked us down. You can only train our guys. They paid us an exclusive fee. We had a 10-year run. We did that. And so we have all this experience. We don't do combine training anymore because quite frankly, it's too much work and it's not worth it anymore because so many people do it, and the agents are just, challenging to deal with. And a lot of athletes don't want to come to New Jersey in January, right? They want to be in warm weather climates. Right. But so it's not worth it for us. I mean, we don't want to put the effort into that because we're doing other things. And at the end of the day, it's not a big business for facilities to do. It's not something we say, hey, go do combine training. You're going to make all this money. It's not there, there's guys that do it and they do it well. They make a couple bucks. They promote, they got great results. That's great. I mean, we've done that. I mean, we're kind of beyond that, quite frankly, you know what I mean? That's all cool, but we're past that, because it's a lot of time and effort and labor and, getting the guys massages, getting them this, getting them that. And it's tough. But now with our new partnership with Alliance Orthopedics, though, that's something that, this group in that facility now is geared up to do, because now we have all that with the new facility. But back then, we kind of outgrew it. Anyway, so we have all that from an education standpoint, to help coaches become better coaches, from youth training to advanced training, whatnot. Then we have a whole business model. If you want to grow from a coach to a business owner, or if you want to grow from a coach to a manager, we have a complete educational track on how to find talent, how to interview talent, how to hire talent, how to train talent, and how to grow talent. I'm talking courses on all those 5 things. And that is the secret to business success. How to find talent, how to interview talent, how to train talent, how to manage and lead talent to help them grow and your business grow. So those are the intangibles that a lot of people don't really kind of focus on. But for us, we created real tangible items, right? Like online courses, online coaching, how to do those things. At the end of the day, it comes down to not just your training science in your curriculum, but it's all about your human capital, how you hire and develop and manage and lead that human capital. And with Dr. Paul Staples and myself, with my network and just understanding people and, making connections with coaches and finding their hot spots and how to excite them and how to help them get to their goals. I say all the time, what's your goal, man? I met with a bunch of coaches in Cherry Hill last week about their goals. I want to be a Division I soccer strength and conditioning coach. I want to go work I want to be a strength and conditioning coach. Great, I'm going to help get you there. I ask you to do one thing. Always be honest to your business owner and always give us your best effort. You do that, man, I'm here to help you. You're part of the Parisi network. You show me what you can do. You do a good job. I'll write you a letter of recommendation. My network is your network. That's the difference about Parisi. Like, people are part of this family, and then my network is your network, right? All you got to do is be honest and give your best effort. We know you're not going to be here forever. We know this is a stepping stone. Cool. Give us a couple really good, strong years, hopefully 3 or 4. And we'll make you really great. Our platform's going to help you become a really great coach. And in return, just give great service to the kids you train. That's what we offer.
And you can find all that at Parisi Speed School.
It's parisischool.com. It's a very busy website. We are actually formulating now multiple websites, because right now the Anatomy of Speed, that's our education. It's the book I wrote, 65,000 word book, The Anatomy of Speed, all scientific references. That's our course. It comes with the book. So it's an online course, about 6 hours. We bring the book to life. And then there's the live version of that. So it's a 2-part certification. It's the online version. You get the book, you go through the online course, then you come and meet with us for 3 days live. And then you become Parisi certified. That's the Anatomy of Speed curriculum. That's kind of level 1, if you will, or that's the first phase. And then we have a continuum of courses after that. And then if you want to interested in an affiliate, so, you can just buy the course and go through our certification. You don't have to become an affiliate. You become an affiliate if you really want to grow your career and you're really looking to get into the business of sports performance, or you want access to all of our content ongoing to continue to grow your.
I'm going through the Anatomy of Speed certification right now, and I highly recommend it to anybody that is in youth performance training. It is as comprehensive as I have seen available to any coach.
And would you say it's entertaining too, because it's really short block?
And I'm busy. So that's the hardest part. I can't sit down and dedicate an entire hour to learning on ongoing basis. So I do like the fact that they're little, and then, okay, take this information, go apply it. Take this information, go apply it. So I really like the way that it's structured.
Yeah. No, we put a lot of time into the production value of that, and how tight it is, and how each module is only 2 to 3 minutes, and you finish the module, right? But we took that book and we turned it into the course. So we're really proud of that body of work in terms of allowing coaches to really understand it. It's a lot of deep science, but we break it down really simple. And that's the magic. I think if I was going to leave everybody with one thing, we just make stuff simple. And it's not so much from a reductionist standpoint, because then you'll get these like sports guys saying, oh, that's a reductionist approach. That's not how you train. I get all that. I'm going into deep science now with comparing reductionist to dynamic systems theory and how the body self-organizes, opposed to lack of cognitive skill development from a top-down approach. So this is more deep science, but I understand both of the approaches and both of the sciences. There's always two sides or two bodies of thought, right? And we use both at the Parisi Speed School. So we use a top-down cognitive approach to teaching speed and development, but we also use a bottoms-up called dynamic systems approach, where you use a constraints-led approach where the body self-organizes, where you don't give mental cues, you don't teach anything, you just put the body in a position where it's got to figure itself out to hit optimal landmarks, joint landmarks on certain skills. So the point is, here's the point of all this. We understand the really deep science, we make it simple. Like, that's the point. Like, we can talk with the best of the best in the world around training, but we make it simple for that new coach or that coach that really wants to go deep, but wants to make it simple so they can teach other coaches.
Awesome. Well, Bill, we thank you so much for joining us. I know you've got to get going.
Yep.
We rocked and rolled a little long, but we thank you for joining us on the Coaches Unscripted podcast. We hope today's stories have inspired and empowered you. Please connect with us on Instagram at Coaches Unscripted Podcast. Like, subscribe, comment, and share to continue the conversation and stay updated on future episodes. Follow Bill on Instagram at Bill_Parisi and at Parisi Speed School, and check out all the education at www.parisischool.com. We thank you, Bill, for joining us so much. For Bill Parisi, Corey Smallwood, I'm Trey Belcher. Keep coaching from the heart and building strong communities.
Thanks, guys.